Denver Broncos at the Tennessee Titans. I'm going to take the Titans in this one. This will be close, low-scoring game. Definitely bet the under, I think, if you're going to bet, unless there's some fluky defensive touchdown. The Titans' pass rush was actually very impressive against the Chiefs, even though Mahomes had all those passing yards. They were able to get a lot of pressure. Mahomes just extended plays brilliantly, and the Broncos' offensive line dealing with a lot of injuries and still not getting a running game going. And Russell Wilson have his big plays here and there, but he's also still coached by Nathaniel Hackett. And the Broncos, even though their defense has been good, have not stopped the run pretty consistently either. So I think Derrick Henry gets back to form. I'm going to take the Titans in this one. Close, low-scoring game, 17-13.
I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go with the Broncos here. Vrabel reminds me a little bit of Tomlin. He kind of fires the boys up when they're in that underdog spot, and he did that on Sunday Night Football last week, and he almost did the unthinkable going into KC and winning with Malik Willis, who, I mean, look, he's a really raw QB prospect. That receiving core is probably the worst in the league, them and the Giants. But he almost pulled it off, and that defense is really legit. They have the best run defense in football for my money. I mean, I know the Chiefs aren't a run-first team, but I think their running backs combined for 14 rushing yards on 12 carries. I don't care who you are. That's really impressive. But I'm going the other way. I mean, Russell Wilson is off a bye. He's been terrible. I think the guy is very cognizant of how he is perceived and thought of. This team, more than anyone, needed to regroup. This offense, Nathaniel Hackett, they just needed a moment to breathe just with how disastrous the season has gone. And at the end of the day, I still think this is the better team. I think the wrong team's favored here. No Bradley Chubb, yes, but they still have Baron Browning, who's been a monster. Randy Gregory might be back in this one. I mean, this defense is still really good. I'm going to go with Denver here, 21-13.
Oh, I got Tennessee in this game. It's in Tennessee. I don't know what the Broncos are, and I don't think Russell Wilson is the same quarterback he was the year before. He really wasn't good after last year when he hurt his thumb. He hasn't been the same quarterback. Maybe his mind is not in the game. Maybe that was the big contract that he got in the offseason. Who knows? Maybe it's Ciara just dancing around naked. But right now, the Tennessee Titans are the better team. They have the better coach. I think they have the better running game. I think they're going to be able to run against Denver. It's a ground and pound. Nobody stopped Derrick Henry this year. Even when they they contain him, they can't contain him enough where he can't run the ball. I believe Derrick Henry will be able to run in this game. I think they'll be able to throw a little bit. And Ryan Tannehill could be back this week. So, and they're saying that he probably will be back this week, which really helps Woods and some of the other guys that could be involved with the offense. Give me Tennessee in this game, 21-14.
All right, first of the 4 o'clock games. One ugly one here. The Colts and the Raiders. The debut of Jeff Saturday as the Colts interim head coach.
Please.
And I think they're going to win because they actually match up well with the Raiders. I actually think they match up well with the Raiders because the Raiders' offensive line has been really bad this year, and the Colts do have some good pass rushers. The rest of their defense hasn't been great, and their run defense has been serviceable.
Is Jonathan Taylor playing?
He was practicing the last 2 days, which is a good sign. He might still be limited with rotating with some of the other guys, but still, I think there'll be enough of an effect where they can run on the Raiders too. And we've seen the Raiders now blow another double-digit lead. I think that's just a big problem. The Colts actually have been in their wins a good fourth quarter team, so I think you'll just see another blown 10-point lead from the Raiders. And wouldn't it be funny? Josh McDaniels, who almost coached the Colts, blow another lead to the Colts. Colts win this one. Here's my Kenny score of the week, 25-22.
I can't back the Colts here. I mean, this spot is it's crazy. I mean, they have 2 head coaches on their staff between Gus Bradley and John Fox. They have another guy who coached in the CFL. The guy who's calling plays for them this week, Parks Frazier, is a 30-year-old assistant quarterbacks coach. I mean, I'm looking at this guy's resume right now. His last couple gigs, quality control at Samford, quality control at Middle Tennessee, GA at Arkansas State, and then assistant to the head coach at Colts, offensive quality control with the Colts, and now he's the assistant quarterbacks coach. Now he's the interim OC. He has never called plays before in his coaching career. I mean, talk about overwhelming for an offense who's already the worst in the league with Ehlinger back there. I just don't know how they're going to score in this one with Max Crosby on the other side. I know it's not a suffocating defense in Vegas, but I'm just going to put my trust in Vegas and Josh McDaniels to get this one right. I mean, if McDaniels loses this one, I think it might cost him his job.
According to the burner Adam Schefter account, he's already fired.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely tanking themselves between Waller and Renfro hitting the IR. I saw Blake Martinez retire today, and he played like 70% of the snaps last week. I mean, it's an absolute debacle on both sides. But I'm just going to trust Vegas here. There's a little bit more stability there somehow. I can't imagine the Saturday thing ends well. I don't think the players are going to react kindly to this. I imagine the coaches are definitely not going to respect his authority, no matter how you think of Saturday as a player and kind of the respect that he might garner from his playing days. I just don't think this will end well. I see Vegas in this one. I'm going to take them 27-20.
Yeah, I agree with you, Derek. I think the Vegas Raiders are going to win this game. And I'll say this. I like Jeff Saturday. I have a lot of respect for him. I think he's a great center. Peyton Manning says he was one of the greatest teammates he's ever played with. He's never had a coaching job in the NFL. He's never coached in the NCAA. And now you're taking over a team that absolutely stinks. They don't even have a starting quarterback. Jonathan Taylor's coming back from a major injury that he's been out for a couple of weeks. He's probably not going to be at full strength all season long. And their offensive line has been atrocious this year. Vegas, I think Josh McDaniels is going to be fired no matter winning or losing at the end of this season. I think he's been horrible. I think this team's been horrible. But I'll tell you this. Josh Jacobs has been a great running back this year. I think he's so underrated. And the Indianapolis Colts could not stop a nosebleed. I think Josh Jacobs is going to run all over him on Sunday. I believe that finally we're going to see a 3-touchdown game for Adams. I think this is a complete blowout. Give me the Vegas Chargers, whatever the hell they call themselves, the Vegas Raiders. Give me, I would say, 34-21.
Derek, before we get to the next game, I just want to say two things. One, Blake Martinez must have saw, all right, I'm playing for Josh McDaniels. Like, nah, I'm out. Time to retire.
By the way, you forgot about Cleveland and Miami.
And the other thing, they were looking at the candidates on their staff. Is Gus Bradley really a trustworthy head coach? I mean, he was pretty bad. I think I trust the new guy over that.
If you're the Colts, you just say, hey, let's put it on cruise control. Let's get through this season as quietly and as quickly as possible and get to the draft without hitting headlines. And Irsay did the exact opposite of that. And now everybody's watching you. So, I mean, I agree with you. I'm not, super pumped about Gus Bradley leading my football team, and I get they probably want to lose football games from here on out. That's better for their long-term vision, but man, they could have went a couple different ways versus hiring Saturday.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, we'll go to that Cleveland Browns at the Miami Dolphins. I'll take the Dolphins. I think it'll be closer than people expect, though, because I do think the Browns actually have stretched the field a lot better than I've expected the last couple games. And the Dolphins secondary has been a little bit down this year for the big contracts that they have. Javon Holland's a pretty good safety.
One more week, and guess who will be back on the field?
But still, Jacoby Brissett, I think, has actually not been the bigger problem. I think he's actually been downfield throwing pretty good. So I think that'll keep this game close. The problem is the Browns front seven has actually had some more issues against the run than they have been in the past. So I think you're going to get a nice game from Raheem Mostert. You saw Jeff Wilson have a nice game last week at 2. I think Denzel Ward will shadow one of the receivers, but they're not going to be able to stop the other one. So I think the Dolphins will win it late. The Browns have been bad in close games this year. 27-20. I'll go Miami.
The Browns have been pesky. I mean, they've been really competitive with Brissett, like Speedy said, but I just think this is a really good matchup for Miami. Cleveland has allowed the 6 most explosive pass plays, so 15 yards or more in the league. And it's a little bit surprising. They got a lot of good players back there, but it just hasn't come together. That interior defensive line and the linebacking core are a mess. And Speedy brought up the backfield of Miami. I think Jeff Wilson's going to take over this backfield. He already out-touched Raheem Mostert in his first game last week, 12-9. Wilson looked great in San Fran. He looked great last week in Miami. It's the same system. It's a pretty seamless transition. I expect Jeff Wilson to have 100 yards and 2 touchdowns in this one. On the other side, Miami has not been great on the defensive side of the football, but they've actually been pretty good stopping the run. If they can just limit Chubb and Hunt, you're obviously not going to stop them for 4 quarters, but you can limit them. You can make things hard on them and force Brissett to beat you. You're putting yourself in an advantageous spot. So I'm going to take Miami in this one, 31-21.
There is no way in hell Cleveland wins this game for one reason. This week, Greg Newsome's not playing. This week, Denzel Ward's not playing because of a concussion. You lose two corners that good going into a game where you have Waddle and you have, obviously, Tyreek Hill. Good luck. In Miami, it's going to be hot. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be a pesky day for the Cleveland Browns. I am excited because as much as I can't stand what he does off the field, Deshaun Watson will be back in the next week and a half, and that's a good sign. If somehow Cleveland pulls this out, I still believe Cleveland can win that division. That division is horrible. So if Deshaun Watson comes back and goes on a 5-game winning streak, 6-game winning streak, which I believe he could, I think Cleveland gets into the playoffs, and watch out for them. But I just don't know if they're good enough right now. And right now with the injuries that they have in their secondary, good luck on trying to stop these two speed demons. Give me Miami in this game. I think it's a blowout. Tua's going to throw 400 yards in this game. 28-10.
Actually, I didn't know Ward wasn't playing. I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to say 38-20 Miami now. All right. The Arizona Cardinals at the LA Rams, another one that destined to be ugly. Both these red zone offenses are continuing to have trouble. I'll take the Rams. I think they win it close just because the Cardinals looked like they were good in the second half, and all of a sudden they haven't been recently. And,
they both stink.
I mean, still, but the Cardinals at least were good in the second half for a while, and now even when the games have been closer, they haven't been all of a sudden. So I just think Cliff Kingsbury has just lost a lot of things with this team.
What happened to Wagner, man? What happened?
I mean,
to him?
the Rams' defense has actually been all right against the run. It's just
he looks old.
Well, yeah, he's old.
No, he's really not. He was the best. He was one of the top 5 linebackers in football. How do you go from one of the top 5 linebackers in football to one of the worst statistic linebackers in football? I mean, what does that tell you?
He's a small guy too. I think that guys like that, their shelf life is not that long. Like once you fall off the cliff, it like that decline is sharp, and it's like Jalen Smith's another one on Dallas who used to be on Dallas. He's not small, but he had the injuries and he relied on athleticism. And once he was bad, he was really bad.
I still wanted the Giants to keep him for the sole purpose of leaving Tate Crowder on the bench, but that's another story. But even so, the Cardinals haven't been able to run the ball consistently either. James Conner's injury, Benjamin had a couple flashes, but never really consistently put it together. I thought they would last week against Seattle, who's had some trouble against the run, but I think the Rams' defense holds their own. Hopkins might get some. He's done well against Jalen Ramsey in his career, but I think the red zone offense holds them back. And then Cooper Kupp just does the rest. I'm going to take the Rams 2016.
Just think this before you go, Derek. This guy was amongst the league's top tacklers in all of football. This year, I think he has 31 solo and only 2 sacks. That tells me he's declining, okay? And that's why I have to give a lot of credit to Seattle for a team to walk away from Russell Wilson and get as much as they got back from Charles Cross, and now the kid that they got in the 3rd round, and they solidified their tackling positions, which they've been so bad at. And then they let go of Wagner and rebuild that in the draft. I'm telling you, Pete Carroll and that management, they look like geniuses. Absolute geniuses.
They pushed all the right buttons this offseason.
Yeah, they have. Unbelievable. It really is.
I'm also going to go with the Rams, even though I don't think Stafford's going to go on this one. He got put in the concussion protocol middle of this week. Even with Wolford, I kind of think there could weirdly be a little jolt to this offense just because he can run around a little bit. If we remember back 2 years ago, Wolford played the last couple of games of the season. He played that wild card round against Seattle. He got hurt. Then Jared Goff came in the game, which was a little weird because – the impression was Goff was hurt, but really Wolford kind of took his job from him. Kid can play a little bit. I think he's pretty good. He can run around a little bit because this offensive line is a mess, and you can just see all the struggles that Stafford's having. It might be better in the long term if he just sits this one out, to be honest with you. McVay owns Kingsbury. He owns the Cardinals. He's 11-1 in his career against Arizona. Cliff is 1-5 in his career against LA. I just think this is an Aaron Donald game. This was last week. He had 1 pressure. It was the first time in, I think, 59 games where he didn't have multiple pressures. So you're going to get a pissed off Aaron Donald against a really, really bad Arizona front. I think this is an Arizona team that is giving up on Cliff Kingsbury. We just talked about dysfunction with Indy. Arizona's management and coaching is dysfunctional. I mean, talk about a team that does not get nearly enough out of the talent that they have. They've been really disappointing. I'm going to take LA in this one. I'm just going to put my trust in Aaron Donald to kind of put the team on his back in this one in a defensive slugfest. I'm going to go LA 16-13.
Yeah, I like the Rams in this game. Matthew Stafford or no Matthew Stafford. I don't know what's going on with Arizona. I just don't think they have any confidence in their defense or their offense. They can't run the ball. They've been horrible this year. Remember John Connor? Remember how good he was last year? What happened to John Connor this year? I know. He can't stay healthy. Yep. This team is absolutely horrendous, and Kyler Murray should be ashamed of himself. I love Kyler Murray. He was one of my favorite players going into the season. I said, oh, this guy's an MVP candidate. I picked him to win the MVP. Boy, oh boy, was I wrong. This guy is horrible, horrific, and this team paid him a lot of money this offseason to completely put up a lousy goose egg. Give me the Rams in this game. They're the better team. The Rams win at home. It's going to be an ugly one. Could you imagine that? We're talking about the Cardinals and the Rams, two teams that were in the playoffs last year, two of the favorites to win the Super Bowl last year, and they're two of the worst teams in the NFC. Give me the Rams in this game, 16-13.